Bottom end of the lake today. Marking weeds. But I'm seeing some other signals down in the weeds. The water's real green. So let's get our hand line out with some worms to see if we can't drift up some deep water bluegill here on the lower part of the lake in the weeds. I like the paternoster rig when I'm doing a lot of weeds like this because the weight's down at the bottom in the weeds and the hook is above the weeds, just above the weeds, and the fish will come up and grab it. I use the paternoster all the time. A lot of people use that in salt water when they're fishing for snapper and triggerfish and things down there. Same rig, just smaller for fresh water. Oh, come on. That new battery is working out well. A lot of times you see me fishing up above, below the dam, but we're above the lower dam, a couple miles up, wanting to fish some deeper water off of a ledge into some weed beds. Paternoster rig and a just 8-pound test, man. I tell you, Handline. I have not had a problem. I don't like using too heavy of a line on a Handline because I want to be able to break the line off easily. I don't want to be sitting here fighting. But you gotta understand, I'm in freshwater, right? Freshwater is different than salt. Salt is different. You gotta have heavy line in the salt, or else you just you just bump the trolling motor there. If you had a foot power trolling motor, it'd be better. I just bump the trolling motor. If there's no wind or current, I just bump the trolling motor. Let it guide you along a little bit, and then you just work it slowly. And we're trying to work this ledge. Reel up and cast out a little better. Easiest way to reel is to put the reel on the bottom, on the floor of the boat, and cast that way. It's just way easier. You'll have an easier time. Here and just I feel like doing all that right now. You can hold it up like that. Let gravity just pull the line off. That's what the casting lip is for. I call this part a casting lip or a casting ramp. There's no industry standard names for these. I just name the parts based on what makes sense to me. Casting lip, casting ramp. That wind's picking up. No, we may have to get closer to the bank. Water is 72 degrees down here. Remember, it was up there by the dam. It was like 60, what was it, 66 degrees up there? So 72 degrees down here. It's just how the difference. And the lower part of the lake is like a totally different body of water than the upper part of the lake. See how the shadows there? You want to generally, we're kind of getting too close here, so we're not very good cast, but we can kind of just leave it there and see. Just kind of work it back a little. If you feel it coming off the bottom, you will. You just let a little more line out and then let it and just work it some more. Kind of worked out of that shadow there, so just reel it in and toss it back in. Again, much easier with a crappie rod, but it can be done on a handline is one of the things I want to show. And this is how I catch almost all the summer bluegill like this on this part of the lake in the summer. It's just real deep here, and a quarter ounce will get down. It's just that half ounce is just much better. 3/8, half ounce, 5/8, 3/4 ounce. 1 ounce starts to get to be a little too big. But you can still catch them. And again, it's just a lot of bass fishermen might call this drop shot. But the reason it's not drop shot is because the paternoster rig needs to kind of be fished vertically. But I'm casting a fairly long ways, and so that vertical angle starts leveling out, and you just have this one piece of bait dangling down. So it's not, if that line flattens out too much, it'll just be dragging the bottom. The bait will be dragging the bottom as well. It's just something to think about. Yeah, A couple other fishermen just got off the water, said they didn't have any bites, didn't have any luck. So my guess is they're not quite biting yet. The moon, the full moon won't get here till I think it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like that. That's when the full moon will be here. So, what's your favorite kind of swivel? You like barrel swivels, cheap swivels, good swivels? You know, stainless steel swivels, plastic swivels, what? Just comment below. Be an interesting conversation, because my dad hated buying stuff like swivels and beads. He just wouldn't. He just hated. He just didn't want to spend money on it. But I use tons of swivels and beads all the time, because I'm running braid on this one, and sometimes with my jugs I want to run some swivels. Sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes. Even on my hand lines, I'll put some swivels on there instead of tying knot to knot. Especially if I'm doing trolling. If I'm trolling like we're about to do, I want something that'll at least try to limit the line twist. So the lower end of this lake, there's a lot more boat houses, and therefore a lot more, what we call pleasure boaters. There's nothing wrong with pleasure boating. It's just that they're out here to have fun. I'm out here to catch dinner. You see the difference? This trolling motor here set to speed 4 and only going like 2 miles an hour, which seems kind of slow to me, but Must be some student pilots training from either Columbus Air Force Base or Meridian Naval Air Station. Although I'm hearing jets more than I am anything else. The jets come out of Meridian. The prop planes come out of Columbus. The good thing is they're not running very fast and they're headed back toward this boat dock here. Oh. These plugs have too much buoyancy. They're just too... I need to put more lead in it for ballast. Or what we can do is, instead of using cypress or cedar, cedars are great wood for these kind of plugs, but you could just move to something like an oak that's heavy and dense and just barely floats already. And you don't have to use as much. Won't have to use as much lead, but we got so much cedar and cypress that I'm not going to just throw it away. There's the action there. 5-ounce weight just to get it down. I'm just going to get it all the way to the bottom and see what we can do. Troll the old trolling motor. The trolling motor is the one meant for trolling. There we go, just hit the bottom. Oh. Let it set right there, see what we'll do. This one's skipping on the surface. Both of them skipping on the surface. Sometimes I'll test lures like this on rod and reel and then transfer them to Handline. Just because I can do more. Handline means I gotta have my hands on it, right? So rod and reel, I can do it without having my hands on it. I think it's off the bottom, just tickling. Let's see here. Put another. Ooh, there we go. Turn back out toward the main water. Yes, I gotta turn back toward the pleasure boaters. 1.5 mile an hour now with the wind. Only brought 2 plugs with me, the larger ones. I'm just gonna have to turn these much smaller than I first really expected. This wood has a ton of buoyancy, There's the lock, and that's the dam. station. Casting right back into this little dock here. You can catch them pretty well in the summer here. Don't know if they're in this pattern yet though. It's been in there a couple minutes. Don't feel anything. Something hit it while I was messing with the camera. One of the other boaters was telling me when we were putting in, and just the wind has just been, they ain't catch nothing. Just the wind is killing them. We were. It's almost exactly the same pattern, right into that shadow there. And yep, bite, 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 bite. I don't know if you can see the line, but they're hitting it like crazy. Oh, come on now, take it. He certainly had it, but just wind's getting crazy on us now. I don't like anchoring a whole lot in a lane where there's going to be a lot of boat traffic. So let's get right back where we were. Sad, we got this big old boat and all this motor and stuff. We could have just gotten here with a kayak with my canoe. You know, some people believe in putting in and then running 8 or 9, 10 miles to where your spot is. I don't do that. I pretty much fish where I put in. You know, I'll run some, but I usually am not going to run more than about 4 or 5 miles. I already know the area I want to fish and why I want to fish it, so what's the point in running 8 miles when I can just drive 8 miles upstream and put it into the nearest dock where I want to fish? Not everybody's like that, but one, it saves on gas. Well, you're spending the gas on your vehicle, your truck, your car, whatever, instead of on your boat motor. And to me, I can get, the Jeep can drive 70 miles an hour on the interstate. The boat can do like 20 miles an hour, so I'd rather fish like that. And just try to work it. Sometimes they'll come on out and bite it, sometimes they won't. Nope, that one didn't. No. You just keep working it. Letting the wind carry me along. And the reason I don't like putting the line on the floor is because putting the reel on the floor of the boat is because it's just going to tangle up around my feet. It'll just be, you know, because you don't have the rod on the line out over the edge of the boat. It's just going to be collapsing, tangle all right around your feet. There's a reason I use epoxy on my hand lines. I think I'm just going to not use the oil-based finish. I love the oil-based finish, but you can see we're already getting nicks. And this is cherry, which is a beautiful wood, but it's not, you know. Part of the thing with hand lines, making wooden hand lines, is that there are no more old growth forests anymore. There are no more old growth forests. Hang up on that daggone piece of seaweed or whatever. In other words, all the, yeah, we got a hit. Hopefully we can catch something here. Yeah, we definitely had a hit in that same spot. Yeah, we had a hit, but no taker. Yeah, hit but no taker. There's no more old growth forests anymore. And so it doesn't matter how good a high quality of wood that you can find, and I get some decent wood. The reality is you're not going to find any more 200-year-old trees with really narrow, growth lines and things. Those days are gone, right? And while I love an oil-based finish, the reality is even a hardwood like cherry is really kind of soft for the application. And the reality is, I realize that once you saturate this thing with 3 coats of epoxy, and then you protect that epoxy with 3 coats of varnish, it doesn't matter what wood I use, right? It doesn't matter. It's nice and romantic to take the line off and put another coat of boiled linseed oil on it and do all that, but the reality is, practically speaking, the wood that you really need, it just doesn't exist anymore. And if you do find it, it's going to cost you an arm and 3 legs. Just not practical is what I'm saying. And so, and I want to concentrate on locally available woods that grow in my region. That's about best as I can do, and that's the, and so I'm just swirling around. Yeah, wind is doing this. And so I think what I'm going to do with this one is eventually take the line off, put it back, smooth out that has gotten hit and bumped and things, and smooth it out, get down below that oil layer. And I'm just going to put my old school 3 coats of Rocca boat building epoxy and 3 coats of like Man of War satin spar varnish. Done. Why? Because it works. And this works well too, but it's just not durable the way I want. And almost everything I do is rustic. In other words, it's not meant to be a museum piece. It's meant to be a working tool for a working man. It's not meant to be a perfection sort of thing. Perfection just leads to suicide. that's how perfection works. Because ain't none of us God. But this is working. I'm just gonna go back to the old epoxy and varnish, man. That's where it is. Got some buyers, but no takers. Trip 2, skunked. Skunked. Didn't put the jugs out, didn't feel like it. Probably could have caught something, but usually can catch something on the drift. Usually about this time of the year in May, I can get something just getting on a drift and just drifting with line here down to the bottom. You can catch something, especially if you just kind of work it like that. You can catch something. Undercut bank there, rocks. Cane pole would be easier just to lob it in there. With the hand line, you got to work to try to cast that thing. The advantage of a rod, especially if it's like a 9-foot rod, 10-foot rod, like I like to fish, is that if you got a 10-foot rod, 6 feet of that rod is going to be over the side of the boat. Here, there's nothing. It's just here's only, this is only a fathom here, right? But so you trees, come on. Sometimes when you're backing off the bank like that and you're kind of dragging it like that, that's when you'll get a hit. But much easier to work this pattern with even a cane pole. But I want to show you some of the possibilities. Let's get on around the bend here. Down, bend. It'd be great if I had one of those radio remote control trolling motors, man. That would be great. But I'd rather buy cameras. I'd much rather spend my money on cameras, man. I haven't taken the cinema camera on the boat in a long time, just because I remember I lost the cinema camera out here once. That was expensive, man. I just don't, that's just too expensive, man. Too expensive. So that's why I'm, oh, come on now. That's why you see me running the GoPro here on the water and the cinema camera when I'm at home. And it's a security thing as well. You got, I can hide the GoPro. The cinema camera is just big sitting in there. And so, good thing now is that the winds want to push us back toward the bank. So that makes casting a lot easier. So now I can just kind of lob it in there. So now I want my nose to be to the bank and the winds want to push me back around like this. So what you can do is pull out a ways. Come on. And then go in reverse. I want the back end of the after the boat, stern of the boat toward the middle of the river. Keep the nose of the boat at the bank. You'll see bass fishermen fishing exactly like this. And that's how they work a long bluff bank wall like this. They'll just be pitching and casting and things, fishing shallow. Pretty good way to fish. I just do the same thing with worms and paddle offers and live bait and a hand line or a crappie rod or cane pole. You can work it with the rod, with the reel in your hand like this, or you can just work it with the line, or you can put both hands on the line and work it. Got a little point here, crack here in the wall. That'll hold a lot of fish a lot of times. literally pointing my hand toward the dang on crack. We're gonna pass it before we get to it. Just wind's starting to calm down some, but not as many bites on this side of that boat dock, or the boat landing, than it is just slightly above it. Not sure why. Maybe it's not quite hot enough for this particular pattern. Fish may still be, this is a very deep part of the river. Very deep part of the river. But wind's picking back up now. Wind's wanting to push me back out now, whereas we were pushing me back toward the wind. Doesn't know ever know what it wants to do. Part of it is that wind is hitting this bluff bank wall and just coming back out, you know, just like oh, some cool. I've fished this part before. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting some hits right there. Anybody home? Anybody gonna take it? Nope. It's picking back up some. Slow down a little bit, but again, had a few bites, but just no takers. Nibbling at it, you know, just not. Man, they're in there. They're just not. I just don't think they're quite feeding. We'll give them to the end of the week. They should be feeding heavily when the moon comes. Oh well. Just like any form of fishing, just patience. More patience than I have. And bites, just right over the fish. But no, I don't think they're real tight to the bank. I don't think they're tight to the bank.